Hello, today I'd like to introduce the classic Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book came out in 1937, yet remains a steady seller today, showing that the basics of human relationships have not changed over the years. This book can be split into four parts. The first part being about the techniques in handling people. The next part being about ways to make people like you. The third part is about winning people to your way of thinking, i.e. persuasion. And finally, the last part is about being a leader. To go over the first part, Dale Carnegie says there are three things you must always keep in mind when handling people. The first is to never, ever criticize, condemn, or complain. The second is to give honest and sincere appreciation, compliments whenever possible. The third is to arouse in the other person an eager want. Underlying all of these things is the fact that we must always keep in mind that to make anyone do anything, you must first get them to like said thing. You can't force anyone, you can't enslave anyone. In the end, if the person doesn't want to do it, he won't do it. Rather, we must try to make that person like doing what they should do. If it's a student, we should try to make them study more by making them like studying. If it's an employee, you need to have them excited for the job opportunities at hand. To go over the next part, in order to build great relationships and be built on people liking you, there are a few things you must always keep in mind. You must be genuinely interested in the person and show this interest. Smiling always helps, and using the person's first name always makes that foundation stronger. Being a good listener and encouraging people to talk, as well as to talk in terms of the other person's interests, are fast build-bridging activities. So in the end, what you truly want is to make that person feel important, to make that person feel as though in the small world that they are big. Doing these things will inevitably create a good relationship. So how do you persuade people? How do you get them to think the way you think? Surprisingly, arguments are the worst way to get people to what they think. Arguing, butting heads, in the end, all that creates is conflict, all that creates is defensiveness and distance between you and that person. No, you must always avoid arguments whenever possible, and to show respect, for the other person, and never ever say that he's wrong. Embarrassing him in private or in public will not get him to think the way you think. At the same time, we must always be able to admit that we're wrong, because this will open up conversation and open up the other person's heart. Being friendly, getting the person to say yes, let the other person do the talking as well as give ideas, and to be honest, sympathetic, and appeal to nobler motives. These are the things that persuade people ultimately to your point of view. Finally, to be a leader, you must give honest and sincere appreciation, calling attention to mistakes only indirectly, never directly, and to talk about one's own mistakes before criticizing others. Leaders have to go above and beyond what the average person would have to do, essentially, to ask questions instead of giving direct orders, and to let other people face their own problems. This requires a bit more nuance, a bit more smooth, streamlined conversational skills and people skills. But in the end, that's essentially what a leader would have to do. Here, I would like to call attention to the fact that this book doesn't have any truly revolutionary or truly some out there secrets, things you've never heard of. No, everything I mentioned today are things that people already know, that you shouldn't criticize, that you shouldn't argue, that you need to show interest, genuine interest, to show kindness and sincerity. These are very basic things, but at the same time, the more as basic as it is much, much harder to implement in our daily lives. And that's what the book is trying to get at. Dale Carnegie is showing that while everyone agrees with these kind of truths, these truths are very, very difficult to practice, to put into practice. So, what we should do is go to the opposite way. Our instincts, our base desires tell us that we should put ourselves before others, to get angry, to argue, to criticize. But in order to build great relationships, in order to be that person, the person that can get along with anyone, we must leave our base desires behind. In order to uh, put all of these lessons into one sentence, the golden rule in the Western world shown in the Bible, to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. This encapsulates everything that Dale Carnegie wants to say. Whether it's now or back then, everyone struggles with the same things, and everyone struggles especially with human relationships. However, to stew upon this and to expect others to move the way you want them to move is the height of foolery. Yes, we cannot change human desires and we cannot change other people. What we can change is ourselves and our attitude and how we approach others. In the end, this will result in the greatest of all possible outcomes. Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is a surefire classic that I would recommend to anyone, regardless of their creed and what other walks of life they are. This is a very, very insightful book, and I would highly recommend it to anyone, especially to people who interact with strangers and employees and anyone actually, even with family. Uh, this book will be of help, I am sure. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.